Hey everyone, I'm really excited about today's show because I get to spend some time with a very special guest, Daniela Uribe. She's a global entrepreneur, amazing luxury shoe designer, and content creator. We're going to talk about the importance of understanding employer compliance obligations when operating in foreign countries. And we're going to talk about something really fun and a favorite topic of mine, shoes and shoe design. This is a really fun and illuminating episode that you just won't want to miss.
Welcome to the HR Investigations Podcast, exploring the issues, challenges, strategies, and solutions. Sponsored by RPCHR and hosted by Natalie Ivy, an HR consultant, licensed PI, and author of the best-selling book, How to Conduct Internal Investigations, a practical guide for human resource professionals. And now, here's Natalie.
Hey everybody, welcome to the HR Investigations Podcast. I'm Natalie Ivy, and I am super excited to bring to you today. The title of my episode is The Importance of Understanding Compliance When Managing a Global Team, and I have a very special guest with me, Daniela Uribe. She is a shoe designer and content creator, and I have a feeling that she is going to be somebody that you're going to hear about in the not-too-distant future. She is someone that I have really recently made the acquaintance of, and she just struck me as just an awesome business owner, and she also has amazing products. I have to tell you that I am delighted to own a pair of her sneakers that are also teal, like my brand image with my company, and the Team Up sneakers are just phenomenal. But also she has some of her other shoes in her line that are just amazing. But I've asked Daniela to join me today, and the reason is that she is a global business owner. And with that, in this show, we talk a lot about managing employee issues and predominantly in the United States. But with Daniela being someone who operates in multiple countries, I thought it would be great to just share some of her knowledge and her experience in being a business owner and what it's like to kind of operate in different places. But before we get into that, I really just want to introduce Daniela and have her share just a little bit about her. So tell us a little bit of a career bio. How did you kind of get into being a shoe designer and a content creator? Tell our listening audience a little bit about you, Daniela.
Well, hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Natalie, for having me here. It was such a pleasure meeting you recently, too. You know, we had great conversations, very interesting. So I'm very excited to be part of the podcast today. And actually, just a fun fact of your sneaker that you got for me, Akon just wore the sneakers as well in a music video 2 days ago. So that was like
terrific.
But yes, so it's a very interesting topic because it's one of the things that I really had to learn, and I had no idea about all the rules and all the things that come with hiring people in different parts of the world. And it's interesting because it tells you not just a lot about the country and everything, but also about the values of the people in each different, culture. So that was really exciting. So to start a little bit about me, so I am Daniela Uribe. I'm from Colombia, but I own a footwear company. The shoes are made in Italy, but I am based in Miami, and I am also a content creator. I manage different types of social media accounts, and I also manage my own account, which I get a lot of partnerships from. And for both businesses, I have employees in Colombia, in Italy, and in the United States. And let me tell you, every country is very different. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I've had the business for about 2 years, but I've been in footwear for many, many years. I lived in Europe. I studied footwear design in London, and I've been doing content creation for about 5 years.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm just going to tell you, share your website so that our listeners are going to know where to find your fabulous shoes.
So you can find the shoes at www.danielauribe.com, and Daniela is with one L. It's very common that people write it with 2 L's. And my Instagram is I am Daniela Uribe, and the shoes Instagram is Daniela Uribe Official. So that's where you can find me.
Excellent.
We ship worldwide, both from our website, and we have a couple stores.
Fantastic. And Uribe is Uribe. But I can tell you, Natalie Ivy is a huge fan. For those of you who have been in some of my continuing education classes and listen to my podcast, you probably learned over the years that I really am kind of a shoe fanatic. Actually, my husband He even nicknamed me affectionately Imelda Marcos. For those of you who are familiar with Imelda Marcos, she is a woman who collected thousands and thousands of shoes. So let's kind of talk a little bit of HR shop. So as a shoe designer and also working on content creation, which kind of goes hand in hand, of course, the marketing that you do to really drive the brand, you have to have employees that work in various parts of the world as you're really getting your product out there. As you've been in business, Daniela, what are some of the key things you've learned as a leader about just establishing a business, and we'll get to that in a minute, but what are some lessons learned in kind of as a leader with people working in different countries?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely learned a lot because, I mostly worked here in the US and I had some years working in the UK. But when it came to hiring, I realized how different the rules are and how important for some countries it is to follow them. In my experience, in the US, I guess we are known for truly working a lot, being truly workaholics, right? And the rules in terms of leave and maternity leaves or paid time off or overtime pay vary against different countries. For example, for me, it was very shocking that in Italy, when you hire someone, no matter if it's their first year or anything, you have to give them 4 weeks of paid leave, which I wasn't used to because when I was an employee in the United States, my first year as an employee, I didn't actually have vacation. I accumulated, the system was accumulating vacation with every paycheck. So having to give that was so important and so different to them and to me, because that for me was a lot of time up. But, it's something that you have to understand. And you learn to understand why, which was more interesting to me. And it's how much, for example, the European employee values the work-time balance. It's something very important over there, and they don't have any flexibility around it. I'm not allowed to text any employee while on their paid leave at any point in time because I can truly get penalized for that. In Colombia, for example, there was something very interesting I learned as well, and it's because Colombia is a very religious country. It's mainly Catholic. They have a lot, and I'm telling you, multiple religious holiday days. They tend to fall on a Monday, which was very interesting because it's a lot of Mondays that they have off. And there's two important things about that. And it's one, in Colombia, when you're going to pay overtime, you have to pay 125% overtime rate. But if it falls in a religious holiday, it's 175% overtime, which I was, wow. You see what I mean when it comes to value? Realize, the country values religion, right? So much, and it's mainly a Catholic country, and they put that importance there. And at the beginning, for me, I would forget many times, and I would text my assistant. She's my executive assistant. She's in Colombia on a Monday, and very quickly I would get an answer back saying it's a religious holiday. And I had to learn, I feel like sometimes here, or in my experience anyhow in the US, we're a bit more flexible with overtime or texting in holidays. As an entrepreneur, you work 24/7. Learning that was so important for a country was something I really had to get used to. So I've definitely learned a lot, but mostly what I've liked about learning these little details is understanding each culture and its values, and also seeing how much we actually work here.
Yeah, it really does open your eyes, doesn't it? Yeah, I've definitely heard that. I work a lot with some European companies, and they value holiday. And when they are on holiday, like they are checked out.
They're disconnected. Like the company can be falling apart. They're not coming back for it.
They're in Cyprus, like they're on the beach. They're just, they're chilling. And here in the States, no, we're taking the laptop. We're continuing to work.
Yeah, we're working all times. It's crazy. Also, for example, maternity leave was another one that was interesting to me because I remember when I was an intern first in a big company, Dan Fostenberg, there was maternity leave was really short. And I didn't know because I guess I was young. I didn't look into it. It was a really short maternity leave. And then when it came to my business and I was looking into these rules, I realized in Europe, you have to give like 3 months of maternity leave. No, I think it's 2 months before and 2 months after. And they And it's the same as a holiday. Like you cannot contact by any means that employer.
So if you're a business owner and you really haven't had an orientation to the compliance, that could be really problematic, couldn't it? That could
100%.
be costly, right? Like the listening audience, we know we have the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. We have the Department of Labor and specifically the Wage and Hour Division that enforces all of our laws regarding how we pay employees, how we classify, how we pay overtime. So obviously in the different countries, just, where you operate, like in Italy and Colombia, you have different entities that are responsible for enforcing that. And so that can be pretty darned expensive. So we all talk, here in the States, HR professionals who have been around a while, we know how expensive just settling the fines or like an EEOC charge, how much that could cost us or litigation. But, you heard Daniela talk about if you don't pay the overtime or if you were working with a religious holiday here and you missed that, that could actually be really, really expensive for you to reconcile that in another country. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it can be. And you have to look into it because personally, thankfully, I have a great assistant, but I didn't look into it. And I was like, it's a Monday. It's my most important day of the week. I'm texting and you cannot do.
Yeah, that's great. So for those of you who are working in some businesses where you've been predominantly U.S. based, but now you might suddenly be working in another country, these are some really important lessons learned. Daniela, when you were getting started and you were establishing presence in, let's say, Italy and Colombia, what are some specific things that, if you were to share with our listening audience, what are some specific things that you think they need to really consider, or any resources that you would suggest that they leverage before they decide to go make that decision? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I remember was important is looking, before you hire anyone, look at the rules of each country in terms of letting someone go, because, we're businesses. And if somebody isn't working or is harming our business, for example, we need to understand what are the rules around that. And I think that can really also have an impact in your decision making when you're going to hire someone. And the reason I say this was because when I was reading about the rules in Colombia, the employer is very, very, it's very important for the country to make sure that employer is employed. And the rules around letting someone go are really hard. I cannot just let someone go like as easy as we're used to doing it here in the States at all. It actually really harms my business, and economically it also hurts my business a lot if I just want to let someone go out of the blue. The rules were so strict that it made me go over more interviews and be more specific and sure about who I was hiring, because I knew once I hired this person, it wasn't going to let them just go easy. So that's something very important. In Italy is a bit more flexible, but I remember Colombia specifically, I was shocked at how much the employer have that safety within a company. So I think definitely look at the rules before you're going to hire anyone, and especially look at that rule because it's something that we all as business owners have to go through. Sometimes we employ someone that didn't turn out to be what we thought. So I say that. Obviously also look at all the different entities, as you say, that manage employers or things like insurances and things like that. They all get pretty different country per country, how you have to insure an employee, or if it's pay per hour, what are the rules compared to if it's salaried. Also the contracts, each country has different ways of contracting. So if you're going to do like a freelancer or a private contractor, it's completely different in some countries than we're used to doing it here. So what are the rules about that? So just making sure you really read before you hire, because, you might be lucky like me where I actually didn't read everything. I had some reading, but then I made mistakes and my employers just were really nice about telling me, you might not have such a nice person. So just make sure you read before you start employing people. And even if your employer, it's like, don't worry, I'll work for you, or very friendly and nice, you never know when things can quickly change. So it's better to just make sure you understand the different rules.
Yes, that's essential. And I would certainly suggest any of you that are in the listening audience that may be wanting to go offshore, where you want to establish a business in another country, you not only need to get this orientation and understand from the hiring standpoint, as Daniela said, and what happens when you're doing the performance management when maybe an employee isn't really working out, and we might need to perhaps help them find a new opportunity outside our organization. But we have to get good legal counsel, and certainly in-country counsel is essential. I recently had an investigation that took place in Mexico City, and my listening audience knows that I'm a licensed investigator, and so corporations will hire my team and I to, particularly around, I handle these days executive level cases. The rest of my team will handle things with more frontline or mid-level management, but usually my cases are involving executive level or C-suite executives. And so it was very interesting with that investigation taking place in Mexico City and also understanding the nature of how it works. Like here in the United States, we have laws regarding sexual harassment. Well, of course, in Mexico, we have that as well, but there's also a law around what's called mobbing. And so we needed to get an orientation, and specifically, we reached out with legal counsel with the company that was hiring RPC to do the case. And we had to have an orientation to understand the framework of the laws when we're having to go in and conduct the investigation. So on the one hand, we're looking into misconduct with an employee that is certainly in violation of the company's policy. And of course, it's a global company. So that's in violation of sexual harassment. The problem was in this particular case, the conduct with, and it was a person who was a sales manager that was a very, very aggressive individual. He crossed over the line and actually violated Mexican law with some of his conduct. So that kind of changed what the outcome was in that investigation and the consequences, if you will, that the employer really needed to affect. They had to do some pretty strong remedies to be able to satisfy the complainant because of the conduct being egregious. It really was, it could have equated, if you will, in the U.S. law, probably assault and battery. All right, it was that bad. Yeah.
Wow,
so
very interesting.
Yeah, so understanding that orientation is important. Yeah. So kind of toggling to a completely, different topic from some of like this super, intensive risk factor being a business owner. I just want a little bit of just fun. So what made you become a designer? What made you decide to take all this risk of being a business owner and operating globally? Tell the audience, what made you be a shoe designer?
Since I'm little, I'm obsessed with fashion. I mean, like little. Like you would see pictures of me, like 1 year old, like trying to put my mom's shoes on, and I basically fit on the shoe. So I was like super in love with fashion since a very young age. I actually designed my first communion dress. I designed my quinceañeras. In Colombia, we celebrate 15 instead of 16, sweet 16. I designed my dress, I designed my shoes. So I was always really in love with it. I actually meant to study fashion design, but when I moved to the UK, to London College of Fashion, I realized that there was a degree for shoes only, which I never knew. And once I tried, in the first year, you kind of see all the different areas of designing. And once I saw the footwear, I just fell in love with the shoes, the architecture. Also, the fact that shoes, like, they always fit no matter how bad of a day you're having or you're feeling overweight or underweight, the shoe's gonna fit. And I love that idea. And so I became obsessed with it. And I worked for great footwear companies, and most of them in the luxury area and most of them producing in Italy. So I developed a really key eye for quality, and I tried many other countries, but Italy was really the one that had the quality that I needed. So I decided to, do the international route and stick to what I knew was best.
Yeah, phenomenal. And so also share with our listening audience, because I will tell you the human resources profession, and for my listening audience, if you may not know this, we are about 80 to 85% of a female profession. And so I imagine that there are a lot of our listeners that love shoes as much as I do. So tell our listening audience about your design specifically. I found it very interesting in the way that you have balanced the shoes, especially your pumps, which are amazing. But the comfort factor, describe a little bit about what it is that you just built into those shoe designs.
Of course. And actually, fun fact about the footwear business, the footwear industry is actually male dominated. So It is, because if you think about it, most of your big footwear designers, Louboutin, Jimmy Choo, Aquasura, they're actually male designers. And most of the employees behind in factories are actually males too. But my business, and I'm really happy to say that my employers is female dominated. So all my employers are female dominated. And it helps me a lot, because what I wanted to do when I started my brand was to create high heels that were comfortable, like truly comfortable. And especially in that luxury area, most of your high heels that you find, we all love them, but they are painful. And I'm sure a lot of you listeners know what I'm talking about. So what I decided to do was develop an insole. The insole has arch support. It also has 2 layers of foam. It has a memory foam layer, and then it has a latex layer, because after many testing of me and all of the women in my team, the memory foam alone would flatten over time. And as it flattens, it creates the same pain and as if it wasn't there. But with the help of latex, it creates a bounce and it won't flatten. So we did that for our highest heels. And even for sneakers, we have a special foot bed that makes it a lot more comfortable than a normal dress sneaker. So my sneakers are what we call dress sneakers. They're not performance sneakers. So they should be more comfortable than any other designer dress sneakers in my market.
I could attest to that. I actually wore mine home on the train, and
I hope that you felt they were comfortable.
You were. I had to take them right out of the box, and I had to wear them on the train. And even one of my seatmates sitting next to me on the train said, "Wow, those are really cool sneakers." I said, "Yeah, you already got them." Anyway,
we love it. We love it. Well, that's what we want. I wanted the shoes to look fabulous, but I want you to feel just as fabulous for a long period of time. And then I also developed what we call my Loop logo heel. My Loop logo heel is our signature and kind of what the brand became known for. It's a very unique shaped heel that has the back of my logo. And my Be Yourself pump, as you said, it has it, but a lot of our signature shoes have it. And then another fun fact about the shoes is that I wanted the shoes to have a meaning more than the footwear. So the name of each shoe has a meaning. My most popular shoe is the Be Yourself. And when you receive the shoe, and I'm sure you saw it inside your box, you have a little card that tells you what I want you to think about and what the meaning of the shoe is when you wear it.
Yeah.
So Team Up, I'm sure you read, it's all about working as a team and knowing that together we're stronger than individuals. So, I wanted it to have more purpose than just a shoe, because for me, that's what, I feel like you're not buying a shoe, you're also buying what my brand represents. So
yeah, it's fantastic. And I do. I love them. And so you've certainly created a fan out of me. So
I'm happy to hear that. And I loved when we met, learning everything behind what you do as well, because for me, if I would have had someone like you at the beginning, it would have been a lot easier.
Well, that's what being a veteran in human resources in the U.S. for more than 30 years will get you. I'm sort of battle scarred and battle worn. And those of you who've been in HR and the listening audience, you understand. I've been around since the 1990s when we had the Americans with Disabilities Act, and I've remembered distinctly when we passed family and medical leave back in 1993. So I've really seen how our profession has changed in the U.S., where we now have a lot more of these compliance obligations. Thank our lucky stars here in the States that we're kind of not dealing with the holidays on a Monday, because I think, that might be kind of pushing some of us over the edge. Now, in closing out the show today, what are maybe 3 best practices, Daniela, that you can share with employers and for mostly HR professionals that are our listening audience? What are 3 best practices to minimize risk when operating in a foreign country?
The first best practice is truly become, you don't have to be an expert, but really read what are important things for employees and the rules of each country. As you said, I would say another best practice is before you enter business in any other country, find an entity like yours in that country and have them teach you and tell you what are the best practices for that country. So I think definitely read yourself, but second, make sure you you hire an entity that will help you understand that. And third, I think honestly, communicate with your employers often. I think you have to make them feel comfortable to talk to you and make sure that you communicate to them that you are hiring them from a country that has different rules. And I had this conversation with my assistant when I messaged her so many Mondays. I said, listen, I am so sorry that the rules in this country are like this. I'm not used to yours. If I make a mistake, please just let me know and I'll quickly make sure to correct it. So make sure that you openly express to them that you are in the process of learning despite you having an entity or not. And I think when you create a strong relationship with your employees in terms of communication, it minimizes the risk because you're able to solve problems directly with them in a peaceful manner before having to go, bigger into legal problems.
Absolutely. And one of the philosophies that I have here at RPC Human Resources is better to handle problems in-house rather than at the courthouse. Awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, I really want to thank you, Daniela, for spending time with us today. It's truly been insightful, and I really look forward to having you back again. All right. So
thank you so much for having me, everybody. And if anybody's interested in shoes, I'll leave you a little special code for you guys, for the listeners.
Fantastic. And we will have that in the show notes, so that'll be great. All right, everybody, that's it for me today, and I look forward to having you back at another one of our HR Investigations podcasts. See ya.
Thanks for joining us today on the HR Investigations podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share the show with any colleagues who will benefit from our strategies and solutions. For free bonus resources, simply visit hr-investigations.com. And remember, if you'd like some help with improving your investigative skills, or if your organization is in need of an external investigator to help with the case, please get in touch with us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.